I'm back. I say I'm back. You didn't think I was going anywhere, did you? Muslim populations around the world are exploding, and yes, the pun was intended. Speaking of Muslims, the ones in Britain have forced thousands of children into sex slavery. Seems Hillary Clinton may have gotten an itsy-bitsy, teensy-weensy little detail wrong. It seems her private server did contain classified material after all. We'll look at the moral disintegration of yet another liberal icon, the Georgia Jackass Jimmy Carter, and a constitutional attorney and former guest right here on Riell Truth shares some crucial tactics for taking down the police state. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook, and on YouTube, and on Tumblr, and yes, in the book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. The call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, welcome back. Let's get started. Item from The Guardian. Muslim populations around the world will grow by 25% in the next 2 decades, according to new research by the U.S.-based Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life. This is the second time that Pew has studied global Muslim populations. We wrote about it last year. The data is very detailed. It shows population by country and Muslim populations as the percentage of each country's population. Pew has produced a great interactive visualization of their own here too. The key findings are as follows. If current trends continue, Muslims will make up 26.4% of the world's total projected population of 8.3 billion in 2030, up from 23.4% of the estimated 2010 world population. Then from 1990 to 2010, the global Muslim population increased at an average rate of 2.2%, compared with the projected rate of 1.5% for the period from 2010 to 2030. 79 countries will have 1 million or more Muslim inhabitants in 2030, up from 72 countries today. In the U.S., the population projections show the number of Muslims more than doubling over the next 2 decades, rising from 2.6 million in 2010 to 6.2 million in 2030. In Europe, the Muslim share of the population is expected to grow by nearly 1/3 over the next 20 years, rising from 6% of the region's inhabitants in 2010 to 8% in 2030. The UK's Muslim population is set to rise from 2.9 million now to 5.6 million in 2030, up from 2% of the UK population to 4.6%. Unquote. My friends, what's the big deal? Who cares? One group, another group, this religion, this culture, that culture. We're all human beings, right? My friends, if that's what you believe, if that's really what you believe, after all the time I've spent on this show, and by the way, Monday will be my 7-year anniversary show, all the reports you've heard of here, everything you've heard online, everything you've seen in the newspapers, everything you've followed on television, if you can look at all that and say that Islam is just another religion, Muslims are just another group of people, no different than you and I are, then I'd like you to do me a favor. If you're listening on the radio, I'd like you to go to that radio and switch it off. And the next time you feel like listening to Riell Truth, don't. Because by this time, if you have not learned a single thing about the religion of pieces, then I've got to wonder what the hell you have been doing, and that prospect just plain frightens me. We need to act on Islam now, because in 2030, it'll be too late. I may not even be here by then, and I still care because I got children and grandchildren. Item from rightwingnews.com. This sort of stuff has been going on in Britain for decades, with thousands of white children and immigrant children having been forced into sex slavery by Muslim immigrants there. But it's happening in the USA too. We reported on the terrible situation in England only a few months ago. Muslim immigrants there have been engaged in sex slavery rings for 20 years or more, with British authorities ignoring it for fear of being called racists. But don't be fooled into thinking that this is just happening in England. The Associated Press has the story from as far back as 2012 showing that this is happening here in the United States, and it's likely been going on here for just as long. A key witness in a federal trial involving 9 people accused in a sexual trafficking ring operated by Somali gang members told jurors she was taken from apartment to apartment in suburban Minneapolis to have sex with men for money. The young Somali woman who testified Tuesday in Nashville is identified in court records only as Jane Doe number 2 and is one of 4 unidentified female victims listed in the indictment originally unsealed in 2010. 30 people were indicted in the case, many of Somali descent, and were members or associates of 3 gangs called the Somali Outlaws, the Somali Mafia, and the Lady Outlaws. The gang members are accused of forcing teenage girls into prostitution and operated in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Columbus, Ohio, and Nashville, Tennessee. Her family came to the United States like many Somali refugees to escape a war. But the woman testified that most of the men that used her for sex were other Somalis in her community. In the United States, it's been Somalis perpetrating these crimes, while in England, it's mostly Pakistanis. But gee, do you think the common denominator is Islam? Understand that these Somalis have been imposed on Minnesota by our federal government that's resettled these people here by the tens of thousands. Stop! My friends, 2 problems. One is the immigrants themselves because they're Muslims and because they are what Ann Coulter calls accurately a peasant society. They are dirty, uneducated, uncivilized people, and the last thing we need is them here. That's number 1. Number 2, as the last paragraph points out, these people have been shoved down Minnesota's throat by the federal government, which belies the fact that the federal government has had for a very long time and still has much too much power. The federal government in the United States was never intended to have that much leverage over the states. The states are supposed to be sovereign, and so I'm hoping that officials in Minnesota will push back and tell the Obama administration, no! You will not shove third world populations down our throats, and all these Somalis that you gave us, well, guess what, Mr. Obama? We're giving them back to you. Stick them someplace else. And my friend, I can recommend to the president exactly where he should stick them. We'll be back with Riell Truth.
It's nothing more than a shot in the dark. If you're taking supplements or following health programs without an accurate scientific evaluation of your health, from the comfort of your home or office, you can work personally with health expert Eileen Durfee, a Dr. Wilson health practitioner who scientifically evaluates your current health and provides you a personalized program and affordable products. Get real results, get nutritional balancing, and GoHealthyNext.com. Call 866-463-4533. That's 866-463-4533. Areas since 1992. Our system relies on the sun to help make you self, for example, without heat. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from custom power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility and reactive systems as well. Custom tailored capabilities is not a providing all the way to commercial scale power. Great Place Power is a full service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your employer, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to greatplacesolar.com.
Guys, you know, today's show brings to an end 6 full years. Actually, 7 full years. Now you know why I never became an accountant. Anyway, welcome back to Riell Truth. It's in the news. Donald Trump, the Mexican border, immigration. Here's a report from Fox News. You got Megyn Kelly, you got Ann Coulter, you got some guy named Jose Vargas. They're all about to weigh in, and what they're about to say is important for you to hear. So, listen. My friends, a quick question, and forgive me for asking stupid questions. I have to. I'm a journalist. Jose Vargas is on this show. He's an illegal alien. How come there's no one grabbing him on camera and dragging him out and throwing him in jail, or better yet, exporting him back to Mexico? I merely throw that question in. My friends, do you wonder why these illegal immigrants and legal immigrants from third world countries, do you wonder why they block vote for the Democrats? Because the Democrats give them things, give them freebies, give them money, give them medical coverage, give them this, the in-state tuition, driver's licenses, welfare, welfare, welfare. Of course, the government gives it to them, but it doesn't come from the government, it comes from us. Now, even less than we need people flowing into this country by the hundreds of thousands without education, but in many cases without personal hygiene. We want even less voters who will simply vote for whoever gives them the most free stuff. Not what America's about. It's not the way any country can continue to exist. So yes, the Democrats are bringing in third world immigrants because they know they'll vote for them. And the big corporate interests also want third world interests, third world people coming here because they get cheap labor. Both of those are true. Obama himself wants third world immigrants coming in because he knows it will weaken and eventually cripple America, which is what Obama really wants. Item. From the Wall Street Journal, Dateline, Washington, Hillary Clinton's campaign said Wednesday emails on her private server she used when she was Secretary of State contained material that is now classified. The clearest explanation thus far of an issue that's roiled her bid for the presidency, unquote. So my friends, remember when Hillary was saying there was nothing classified on her server? She was lying, right? Right. She was lying. You know, I have friends who tell me that I call Hillary a pig much too much. So I'm not going to call her a pig. I am not even going to utter the word pig in connection with Hillary Clinton. Item from Variety. Caitlyn Jenner could be charged with manslaughter following her car accident in Malibu earlier this year that left one dead. Detectives have completed their 6-month investigation and are set to present evidence to the prosecution that could lead to a misdemeanor manslaughter charge against Jenner. Because there's, quote, nothing really egregious, unquote, in the case, Detective Richard Curry of the Sheriff's Department said there's, quote, a 50-50 chance that she will be charged, unquote. My friends, it's weird how many times 50-50 shows up in Bruce Jenner's life. Item from countercurrentnews.com. There are nearly 50 million Americans who now live below the poverty line. That translates to 49.7 million total. Further, just as shocking, nearly 80% of the entire U.S. population is now living near poverty or below it. This startling new statistic means that 8% of the population is struggling with joblessness or with near poverty. Many of them are relying on government assistance to help pay the bills or feed their families. Stop! That's it! That's the key. That's what it's all about. My friends, I'm not here to tell you the meaning of life, although I could, but I'm here to tell you the meaning of life in America as far as the politicians are concerned. The meaning of life in America is control. The government and the corporatists, really the same thing, they want control. Over you, over me, over everybody. How are they going to do that? Well, real simple. When people have basic needs, they have no job, they have no money, can't buy food, can't get health coverage, can't find a place to live. When people have basic needs, they turn to the government. And once you're on the dole, the hands of the government, once you depend on the government, once you need that government check just to make ends meet, then you are a slave, a debt slave, an indentured servant. You are controlled. So a hearty thank you to Obama voters who are responsible for this disaster. And rather than saying, "Who that Riell? How dare he talk to me?" I want those Obama voters to do tshuva, as we say in Judaism. I want you to repent. I want you to say, yes, we've been idiots. And I vow never to vote for a Democrat again. If you say that, you may continue to listen to my show. Item from ClashDaily.com. State Department BlackBerry devices issued to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's aides Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin have likely been destroyed or sold off, the department said in a court filing on Wednesday. Unquote. Darn it! Isn't that just a weird coincidence when they're investigating everything about Hillary Clinton and Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, and especially their electronic devices? Gosh darn, if it's not just now that these devices seem to just gone missing. Isn't that a weird coincidence? Item from the Washington Examiner. Kristen Beck, former Navy SEAL and now a transgender woman running for Congress, said Wednesday that the Pentagon is taking the Secretary's order to look at lifting the ban on transgender service very seriously and doing a good job looking at issues each branch might face. There's a lot of meetings going on behind closed doors, Beck told the Washington Examiner. I know they're going to do a very good job. They're taking it very seriously and working through all the difficulties towards success. Unquote. Mr. Beck, there's nothing good in allowing transgenders into the military except for the transgenders who want to be in the military. What's the benefit to America? Ask the same question about immigration. As we get hundreds of thousands of unwashed, illiterate types coming from the third world, what is the benefit to America? The corporations benefit because they're getting the closest they can to slave labor. The Democrats benefit because they're getting block voters with their hands out. How does America benefit from having transgender people in the military? I got a better question. How do transgender people benefit from liberals telling them that there's nothing abnormal about what they're doing? They're just fine. We salute your courage. How about people really and honestly and truly having compassion for their fellow humans and telling transgender people they're in serious need of help and then helping them get it? If someone walked into an ER with a broken arm, the doctor wouldn't think of saying, well, it's your choice to have a broken arm. I salute your courage. Next! They'd get the help they need. Kristen Beck needs to get the help he needs. We'll be back.
It's nothing more than a shot in the dark. If you're taking supplements or following health programs without an accurate scientific evaluation of your health, from the comfort of your home or office, you can work personally with health expert Eileen Durfee, a Dr. Wilsonville practitioner who scientifically evaluates your current health and provides you a personalized program at 824.
All right, guys, welcome back to Riell Truth. I am Howard Riell. Remember, Monday is the 7th anniversary show. Call in on Monday. Wish me well. I can take it. Judge Andrew Napolitano, you've been hearing his voice on my show for a long, long time. He's one of the people for whom I have the most respect. Here he is talking about what else, Hillary Clinton, and why she should be thrown in jail, quite frankly. Let's listen. Now you know why I like Judge Napolitano so much. Believe me, I want to see Hillary Clinton's ass in a jail cell, which means automatically I've got more interest in her ass than Bill ever did. Here is Dick Morris with an interesting question. What do Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have in common? The answer is, well, you'll see. Here we go. All right, guys, so much for Dick Morris. I just cannot make this video work right. I apologize. The bottom line is this. Voters like politicians who tell the truth. It's just that simple. Only in the 21st century has that become a revolutionary concept. God help us. Item from Observer.com by Rabbi Shmuley Boteach. Headline, The Moral Disintegration of Jimmy Carter. I'll give you a little bit of this piece. It's a long one. You'll find it on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio. Rabbi Boteach writes, for years I've been defending Jimmy Carter against charges of anti-Semitism. Maybe I didn't want to believe that the President of the United States, the freest country in the world, could dislike Jews. So I chalked up his animus toward Israel and his awful accusations of Israeli apartheid to a faulty moral compass. Mr. Carter's recent accusations of Israeli war crimes, his demand for the United Nations investigation into Israel's actions in Gaza, and his call for Hamas, a genocidal terror organization, to be recognized as a legitimate political partner by Israel, is making it near impossible not to ascribe to Carter some nasty feelings towards the Jewish state. Where is Mr. Carter's call for the world to recognize the legitimacy of Al-Qaeda or the Taliban? Why isn't Mr. Carter calling on Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan to recognize the legitimacy of Boko Haram? Why is it only the Jews who have to recognize the legitimacy of the terror organization sworn to their annihilation? Mr. Carter's pronouncements on the Middle East have become so toxic that had he not once been the American commander-in-chief, they would be dismissed as the ravings of a man utterly out of touch with reality. Carter's nonstop criticism of Israel and his emergence, in the words of Alan Dershowitz, as a cheerleader for Hamas, was confirmed in the minds of many that Carter has more than a bit of a problem with the Jewish state. Mr. Carter said in 2006 that Israel's policies in the West Bank are actually worse than apartheid South Africa. He followed this disgusting libel with his infamous 2009 book, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, in which he claimed that due to, quote, powerful political, economic, and religious forces in the U.S., Israeli government decisions are rarely questioned or condemned. Voices from Jerusalem dominate our media, unquote. We're skirting awfully close to a Protocols of Zion-style argument here that the Jews control the media and American foreign policy, unquote. My friends, couple of things. Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, if he thought even for a minute, that Carter was not an anti-Semite, then Rabbi Boteach needs to go back to yeshiva and learn a little bit more. Take the face out of the books and look at real life. That's number one. Number two, the things that Carter has said are abominable. They are vicious anti-Semitism that places him right in the ranks, probably with his hands on his ankles, of the worst terrorist scum the Middle East has. I find it curious. Now that Carter knows he's dying, you would think he would want to spend his last remaining months with his friends, the Palestinians, in Gaza. I mean, after all, he's always rushing to their defense. He might like them, and yet I don't see him moving there. Let me tell you something. Cancer is a terrible disease, and it's a terrible way to die. And in Jimmy Carter's case, it is very much deserved. Item from John Whitehead at the Rutherford Institute. Saddled with the corporate media that marches in lockstep with the government, elected officials who dance to the tune of their corporate benefactors, and a court system that serves to maintain order rather than mete out justice, Americans often feel as if they have no voice, no authority, and no recourse when it comes to holding government officials accountable and combating rampant corruption and injustice. My friends, when we come back, we'll continue with the ways to fight the police state.